All right, so we've got a pretty interesting mix of articles this time around. A lot about what's going on in the markets, especially with tech and AI. Oh, and we can't forget about the Super Bowl. We've got Amazon making, well, some pretty big bets on AI. DraftKings is riding that Super Bowl wave. And yeah, there are a lot of questions about where this is all going. What really caught my eye was Amazon dropping a cool $100 billion into AWS this year just to keep up with AI demand. I mean, their projections are showing cloud computing could hit like $105 billion by 2025. And it seems like they really want a big piece of that pie.
Yeah, that number, it's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. We're talking, I mean, more than the GDP of a lot of countries.
Yeah.
What's really interesting to me is what it says about Amazon's, well, their overall strategy. They're not just dipping their toes in the AI pool here. It's like they're diving head first, putting all their chips on AI being the backbone of, well, pretty much everything in the near future.
And here's the thing. Their stock actually dipped, even though they had higher operating profits. So it seems like investors are really focused on those future projections, particularly for AWS. Makes you wonder what kind of innovations might actually trickle down to us, everyday users.
Yeah.
If Amazon actually pulls this off, it's not just Amazon making moves, though, right? We've got Chinese tech companies also stepping up in a big way. Companies like Xiaomi are launching all these new products, and it seems like they're getting a nice boost from government support.
Yeah, Xiaomi's doing some really fascinating stuff, expanding into smartphones, wearables, and even, get this, their auto division, which, could actually give Tesla a run for its money over in China. And then there's DeepSeek AI. They've come up with this model that, well, it rivals what we're seeing in Western tech, but at a fraction of the cost. Now, they're privately held, but their success is giving a real boost to companies like Alibaba and Tencent, who, are still trying to bounce back from those regulatory crackdowns.
So China's tech scene feels incredibly dynamic right now. What do you think about the opportunities and, of course, the potential risks there? I mean, we keep hearing about this economic uncertainty, and then there's those ongoing trade tensions with the U.S.
It's a delicate balance, that's for sure. On one hand, you've got this incredible innovation happening at breakneck speed in China's tech sector. But then on the other hand, you've got, the economic uncertainty, the geopolitical maneuvering, and now you've got those new tariffs on companies like Shein and Temu. The potential is huge, but the risks are definitely real too.
All right, let's switch gears from the tech world to the Super Bowl for a minute. DraftKings is reporting, get this, record-breaking wagers this year. They're estimating up to $15 billion wagered on the game, making it the biggest betting day of the year by far.
It's almost hard to grasp, right? What we're seeing is this perfect storm of factors driving this huge surge in sports betting. More and more states are legalizing it. Mobile platforms are making it super easy to place bets. And there's this growing cultural acceptance of gambling, as a form of entertainment.
And we can't forget about the Taylor Swift effect, right? Her presence at NFL games this season has definitely added to the hype. More viewers, more excitement, maybe even more bets.
It's hard to quantify her exact impact, but there's no denying she brings this cultural buzz to the NFL. More eyes on the games often translates into more dollars wagered, and, DraftKings is definitely capitalizing on that.
But they're not the only players in the game anymore, right? You've got platforms like Crypto.com and Callsheet offering these financial contracts tied to games, and they're operating outside those usual regulations. How are these new platforms different from, your traditional sports books? And do you think they pose any real threat to DraftKings?
It's a really interesting development. These new platforms are operating in a, less regulated space, which, can be appealing to some people who are looking for maybe higher payouts or more flexibility in how they bet. But it's important to remember that, less regulation can also mean more risk.
It sounds like DraftKings is taking a different approach, focusing on delivering a really top-notch product and customer experience, even using AI to enhance user interactions. They're also using AI for, get this, code generation. Now, that sounds pretty cutting edge. What does that even mean?
Basically, they're using AI to automate some of those coding processes, which can really speed up development, reduce errors, and potentially even lead to more innovative features. It's definitely a way for them to stay ahead of the curve in this really rapidly evolving market.
All this talk about AI makes me wonder about its role in other industries, like fintech, for example, where we see companies like Affirm seeing a huge surge in their stock after a very strong second quarter. Their buy now, pay later service seems to be really hitting a sweet spot with consumers.
Affirm's success is fascinating because it really shows how fintech is disrupting those traditional financial models. What sets them apart is their focus on, I'd say, simplicity and transparency. Unlike those traditional credit cards, Affirm offers these clear payment plans without any of those hidden fees. Or, that confusing compound interest that can really sneak up on you.
I've definitely seen those buy now, pay later options popping up everywhere. But how exactly does Affirm work? And does it affect your credit score at all? I'm just curious because it seems like a lot of people are using it, especially for bigger purchases.
It's actually pretty straightforward. Affirm partners with retailers and lets shoppers break down their purchases into smaller, more manageable payments, which, can be really appealing for larger purchases where, paying the full amount up front might not be feasible. And the good news is that Affirm actually reports responsible usage to credit bureaus, which can actually help build your credit score, if you manage it well.
That's good to know. But isn't there a risk of people, maybe overspending or getting into debt if they're not careful with these buy now, pay later services?
Oh, absolutely. Like any financial tool, it really needs to be used responsibly. It's important to understand those terms and conditions, create a budget, and really only use it for purchases you can comfortably afford.
So it seems like Affirm is more than just a payment processor. They're almost like a financial partner, helping people manage their money in a more transparent way.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Affirm is part of this larger trend in fintech toward providing financial services that are more tailored to individual needs and priorities.
And it's interesting how they're using AI to make it all happen. I read that their chatbot handled something like 20,000 customer inquiries per day on Black Friday.
Oh yeah, AI is a big part of their strategy. They're using it to streamline customer service, improve efficiency, and even keep an eye on how their brand is being promoted to make sure everything is compliant and transparent. It's another example of how AI isn't just about building cool gadgets, it's changing how businesses operate and interact with their customers.
It's amazing how AI is already so woven into our everyday lives. From how we shop to how we bet on sports, it's changing the game in so many ways.
And we're really just scratching the surface. As AI technology keeps evolving, we can expect to see even more innovative applications and disruptions, across pretty much every industry you can think of.
It makes you wonder what skills are going to be most valuable in this, in this rapidly evolving world. With AI becoming so integrated into everything, is it more about learning how to work with AI rather than fearing it?
Absolutely. Understanding how AI works, its limitations, and its potential applications, that's going to be essential across a whole range of professions. It's not just about coding or data science. It's about being able to leverage AI as a tool to enhance your work, whatever that may be.
You've got me rethinking my career path now. But getting back to Affirm, they're expanding globally, right? Yeah. I read something about them moving into the UK market.
That's right, and their approach is interesting. They're actively engaging with regulators to ensure transparency and compliance, emphasizing that their buy now, pay later service is meant to empower consumers, not trap them in debt cycles.
I think it's really refreshing to see a company prioritizing ethical considerations alongside its growth strategy, especially in the financial tech world where things can sometimes feel a bit, opaque.
Transparency is crucial for building trust, especially when it comes to financial products. In a world where people are increasingly skeptical of traditional institutions, companies like Affirm, who are putting ethical practices front and center, have a real opportunity to stand out.
It almost makes you wonder if this is the beginning of a larger shift in the financial industry, a move away from those old clunky systems and toward a more user-centric approach.
I'd say it's more than a possibility. It's happening right now. Companies like Affirm are challenging the status quo by prioritizing transparency, user experience, and responsible financial practices.
So we've talked about massive AI investments, the booming sports betting market, and the rise of fintech disruptors like Affirm. If you had to distill this all down for our listener, what should they be paying attention to as they navigate this increasingly complex world?
The key takeaway here is that we're in the middle of a technological revolution that's impacting every aspect of our lives, how we shop, how we work, even how we entertain ourselves. It's essential to stay informed, be adaptable, and embrace lifelong learning to thrive in this rapidly changing landscape.
It's like we need a crash course in the Future 101. What specific skills or knowledge do you think will be most valuable in the coming years?
Critical thinking is going to be paramount. With the constant bombardment of information and misinformation, being able to separate fact from fiction, evaluate sources, and think critically will be crucial.
So it's not just about absorbing information, but about learning how to filter and analyze it effectively.
Exactly. It's about developing a healthy skepticism, questioning assumptions, and being open to different perspectives, and of course, the ability to learn and adapt quickly.
Things are moving at warp speed, and those who can keep pace will have a distinct advantage.
Absolutely. Embracing lifelong learning, staying curious, and seeking out new knowledge and skills will be essential for staying ahead of the curve.
So it's not just about what you know now, but your capacity to keep learning and evolving. This is where I get a little existential. Is there anything humans can do that AI can't? Are we all destined to be replaced by robots?
That's a question that's been debated for decades. While AI is incredibly powerful, it still lacks certain, well, uniquely human qualities like creativity, empathy, intuition, and the ability to make those complex moral judgments.
So maybe the key is to focus on developing those uniquely human strengths.
I think so. It's about finding ways to leverage the power of AI while cultivating our own human capabilities. It's not about humans versus machines. It's about collaboration and co-creating a future where both can thrive.
That's a much more optimistic outlook. And it really speaks to the importance of adaptability, being open to change, and embracing the unknown.
Exactly. The future is uncertain, but that's also what makes it exciting. It's a blank canvas full of possibilities. And it's up to each of us to determine how we'll navigate it and what role we'll play in shaping it.
This deep dive has been quite a journey. We've explored everything from billion-dollar AI investments to the rise of fintech and the changing world of sports betting. We even touched on Taylor Swift's influence on the NFL.
It just goes to show how interconnected our world is and how seemingly different trends can converge in surprising ways.
What stood out to you the most? Was it the scale of Amazon's AI investment? Or maybe the ethical questions around those buy now, pay later services? Or perhaps Taylor Swift's impact on the NFL's bottom line?
For me, it was the overarching theme of rapid technological advancement and its impact on society. We're witnessing a fundamental shift in how we live, work, and interact with the world. And it's both exhilarating and a little bit daunting.
It's certainly a lot to process, but I think the key is to approach it with curiosity and a willingness to learn.
I agree. This deep dive has given us a glimpse into some of the key trends shaping the future. And it's up to each of us to continue exploring, questioning, and adapting as we move forward.
So, to our listener, if something sparked your curiosity today, dive deeper. Read more, ask questions, and never stop learning. You never know what fascinating insights you might uncover.
And remember, in a world of constant change, the most valuable asset you have is your ability to learn, adapt, and evolve.
Those are wise words. I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation.
There's always more to explore, more to learn, and more to discover.
I have one final, slightly provocative thought for you to consider. We've been discussing AI's impact on the job market, the need for new skills, and the importance of adaptability. But what if, and hear me out, what if we're looking at this all wrong?
Okay, you've got my attention. What do you mean?
What if instead of fearing AI as this threat, we view it as an opportunity to rethink our whole relationship with work?
Okay, that's an interesting way to look at it. You're suggesting that, well, that AI could actually free us from those mundane tasks and let us focus on more meaningful things.
Exactly. Imagine a world where AI handles all the repetitive, data-driven work, leaving us humans free to be creative, to solve those really complex problems, to build relationships and explore new frontiers.
It's a pretty utopian vision, for sure. But it's not entirely implausible. I mean, we've seen throughout history how these big technological leaps have shifted the workforce, often creating new opportunities, new industries we couldn't have even imagined before.
Right. Think about the printing press, the automobile, the internet. Each of those disrupted existing industries, but they also created entirely new ones, demanding new skills, offering new possibilities.
You're right. Perhaps AI will be the catalyst for a similar transformation. A shift from a work-centric society to one where we're free to pursue our passions, contribute to our communities, and live more fulfilling lives.
It's a radical idea. But I don't know, I think it's worth exploring. I mean, what's the point of all this technological progress if it doesn't ultimately improve the human experience?
I couldn't agree more. Maybe that's the ultimate challenge and opportunity AI presents. Using it to create a better future for ourselves and for generations to come.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I encourage you to keep that thought in mind. What would a world look like where AI liberates us from, the drudgery of work, What possibilities would open up? What new dreams could we pursue?
It's a question worth pondering. And who knows, maybe the answers are already within each of us, just waiting to be discovered.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back next week with a fresh batch of sources and a whole new set of insights to explore.
Until then, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
So we've talked about these massive AI investments, the looming sports betting market, and the rise of, well, fintech disruptors like Affirm. If you had to kind of sum it all up for our listener, what should they be paying attention to as they navigate this increasingly complex world?
Well, I think the key takeaway here is that we're right in the middle of a technological revolution. And it's impacting everything, really, how we shop, how we work, even how we entertain ourselves. It's essential to stay informed, be adaptable, and really embrace that idea of lifelong learning. If you want to thrive in this rapidly changing world.
Yeah, it's like we need the future 101, right?
Yeah.
What specific skills or knowledge do you think are going to be, well, most valuable in the coming years?
Yeah. I'd say critical thinking, that's going to be absolutely paramount. I mean, with this constant influx of information and misinformation, being able to, separate fact from fiction, evaluate sources, think critically, that's going to be crucial.
So it's not just about, absorbing information, but actually how to filter it, how to analyze it.
Exactly. It's about developing a healthy skepticism, questioning assumptions, and being open to, different perspectives. And of course, the ability to learn and adapt quickly.
Yeah, things are moving so fast these days. Those who can keep up, they definitely have an advantage.
Absolutely. Embracing lifelong learning, staying curious, seeking out new knowledge and skills, that's going to be essential for staying ahead of the curve.
It's not just about what you know now, but your ability to keep learning, to keep evolving. And this is where I get a little existential. Is there anything that humans can do that AI can't? Or are we all, destined to be replaced by robots?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? A question that's been debated for decades, really. While AI is incredibly powerful, it still lacks certain uniquely human qualities. Things like creativity, empathy, intuition, and the ability to make those really complex moral judgments.
So maybe the key is to really hone in on those uniquely human strengths.
I think so. It's about finding ways to leverage the power of AI while also cultivating our own human capabilities. It's not about humans versus machines, really. It's about collaboration, co-creating a future where both can thrive.
That's a much more optimistic way to look at it. It really speaks to the importance of, adaptability, being open to change and embracing the unknown.
Exactly. The future is, it's uncertain, but that's also what makes it so exciting. It's a blank canvas full of possibilities. And it's really up to each of us to determine how we'll navigate it and what role we'll play in shaping it.
This deep dive has been, quite a journey. We've explored, everything from billion-dollar AI investments to the rise of fintech, the changing world of sports betting. We even touched on Taylor Swift's influence on the NFL.
It just goes to show how interconnected our world really is, and how seemingly different trends can just converge in these surprising ways.
What stood out to you the most? Was it the scale of Amazon's AI investment? Or maybe the ethical questions surrounding those buy now, pay later services, or perhaps, Taylor Swift's impact on the NFL's bottom line?
For me, it was that overarching theme of rapid technological advancement and its impact on society as a whole. We're seeing this fundamental shift in how we live, how we work, how we interact with the world, and it's both exhilarating and a little bit daunting.
It's definitely a lot to process, but I think the key is to approach it with a sense of curiosity and a willingness to learn.
I agree. This deep dive has given us a glimpse into some of those key trends shaping the future, and it's up to each of us to continue exploring, questioning, and adapting as we move forward.
So to our listeners, if something sparked your curiosity today, dive deeper, read more, ask questions, never stop learning. You never know what fascinating insights you might uncover.
And remember, in a world that's constantly changing, the most valuable asset you have is that ability to learn, to adapt, and to evolve.
Those are wise words. Well, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation.
There's always more to explore, more to learn, and more to discover.
And on that note, thanks for joining us.
Until next time.